What is up, guys? My name is Lex. We're heading to Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida to play a poker session. But before we get into today's video, I played a poker session last night at the Hard Rock, Friday night, and it was one of the craziest sessions I've ever played in my entire life. I have two huge hands that I want to share with you guys. The first hand I get into here on this Friday night session happens around 11:30 p.m. We're playing 5, 10, 25 under the gun straddle, and I look down in first position at pocket kings. I raise up here to $75 before the button puts in a 3-bet to $225. Now the action's on the small blind, who is somewhat of an unknown Euro professional who just arrived here in Florida to play some poker. And he decides 225 is not enough. How about a cold 4-bet to $650? My opponent on the button, who put in a 3-bet, has about a $1,600 stack, and with the $25 straddle, that's around 65 big blinds. The small blind, who put in the cold 4-bet, has about a $3,300 stack, so he's sitting about 130 big blinds deep. Now, with pocket kings, 130 big blinds effective, facing a 4-bet, I think we have three options. 1, fold. 2, call. Or 3, re-raise. Folding kings 130 big blinds effective seems out of the question. Calling doesn't seem like the best either because I'm inviting the button into the hand as well. So I decide to just rip it all in. I've got the second best hand you can get pre-flop. I'm all in for $3,300 effective. The button looks down at his cards and calls, and the small blind snap calls. So we are three ways here in a 5-bet jam all-in pre-flop pot with pocket kings. The dealer collects the chips. We're running this one out one time over $8,000 in the middle, and the flop comes out ace high, all clubs, a terrible board for us. The turn is the 9 of clubs, and the river is the 10 of hearts. I look down at my hand, and I do not have a club in it. I show my kings, and the button shows pocket kings with the king of clubs for the nut flush, and the small blind shows pocket aces for top set. So we get a massive cooler, pocket kings versus pocket aces, and we come in third place. End up losing like $3,400 in that hand. I can't really win any significant pots over the next 3 or 4 hours. The game gets pretty big. We end up putting on the $50 straddle as well. And the second hand that I want to tell you guys happens actually around 4 a.m. I now have a stack of about $6,000, and I'm in the game for $10,000. So I'm down just about 4K on the day until this massive hand comes up. It's 4 a.m. This table has gotten insane, and the middle position player limps for $25. Hijack player raises to $100. I look down at pocket queens this time in the cutoff. I make it $300, and the small blind cold calls my 3-bet. The middle position player who limped calls $300, and the hijack player calls as well. So we're 4 ways in a 3-bet pot with pocket queens, $1,200 in the middle, and the flop is 10, 6 deuce, 2 spades. Honestly, a pretty great board. Shouldn't be any 2 pairs in my opponent's ranges, and only 2 or 3 sets that are beating us. I don't expect anyone to really have an overpair on this board. So when the action checks to me, I bet $650. Small blind folds, but the middle position player and the hijack makes the call. So a massive pot brewing here, over $3,000 in the middle, and the turn is the jack of clubs. Doesn't bring in any straights, doesn't complete the flush, but it does improve a hand like jack 10 suited or jack 10 offsuit, the 2 pair. When my opponents check to me again, though, I'm not going to check back and give a free river card. I continue to pile money in this pot with my overpair. I make it $1,300. The middle position player folds his cards, but the hijack player snap jams all in for $4,500 more. We have pocket queens in a 3-bet pot on a jack high board, and our opponent check jams all in for over $4,500. Now, this particular opponent had been down a lot of money on the night. He'd been running pretty bad and probably got stacked 4 or 5 times, and it kind of just felt like he was just going with his hand, trying to gamble it up, I don't really think about it for too long, and I just make the call. If he's got me, he's got me. No way I can fold queens here, and just like that, we're playing over a $13,000 pot. I'm in the game for $10,000. Before this hand, I was down $4,000 on the day. If I lose this pot, it will be the biggest losing session of my entire life, losing over $10,000 in a single day. I have no idea if I'm ahead or behind. My opponent says he only wants to run out the board one time, so going to the river here in a massive pot, and it's the 8 of hearts, and we hear some of the best words you can hear in poker. My opponent says, I missed, you're good. I table my pocket queens, and he flashes 8-9 suited for an open-ended straight draw on the turn that hit a pair on the river, and that is no good. And just like that, we went from being down $4,000 to now winning over a $13,000 pot, and our stack is now up to $14,000, the biggest 5-10 stack I've ever had here at the Hard Rock. Some of the biggest pots I've played over the last couple months. Last night, it was pretty insane. An $8,000 pot with pocket kings, and then almost a $14,000 pot with pocket queens. If I lose that hand there with pocket queens, I'm down $10,000 on the day. But we held up. We won a massive pot, ended up profiting around $4,000 last night on my Friday night session. But we're back here today, ready to play some more poker. Let's see. Maybe we can run good and win some more big pots as well. Let's get down to the table. Let's get to the action. Let's go. The next day, playing 5-10 as well. I open it up here with ace-10 offsuit from early-ish position to $30, and I get a call from the button heads up to king, jack, 8, 2 diamonds. I decide to check, and the button checks behind. Turn card, queen of diamonds, bink. We hit the nuts straight. I bet out $50, and the button very quickly makes the call. River card's the ace of spades, so now any 10 will make a straight. I continue for $75, and the button decides 75 is not enough. How about $325? With this raise on the river, he's representing a 10 for a straight and a flush. And in my opinion, I just don't think he has a flush here very often. I think flush draws would maybe bet the flop and possibly raise the turn. I don't think I can fold a straight, so I put in the call, and he shows me 6 deuce of diamonds for a flush, and our straight is no good. Next hand, I peel back ace queen offsuit. There's a hijack raise to 30. I elect to call in the cutoff, and the button calls as well. We're 3 ways to an ace high board. When the hijack player checks, I bet 75. Button calls 75, and the hijack player folds. We're now heads up to the jack of diamonds on the turn. I continue to bet here for 2 black chips, $200, and the button comes along with a call again. The river card is the 6 of diamonds. The front door flush misses. I put him on a weaker ace, maybe ace 9, ace 8, ace 10. So I continue for a sizing of $250, trying to target those weaker aces, and he calls, and ace queen is good. So far, we are 1 for 1. We got a little unlucky, straight versus a flush, but we get 3 streets of value from most likely a worse ace and take down a pretty decent pot here. I mentioned this last video. If you guys are interested in playing some online poker with me, well, you can follow the directions in the description below. Download the Poker Bros app, go to the Telegram app, and get yourself on the app in my club, and hopefully we can play some pots together. A sick hand develops next when I look down at queens in the hijack. Under the gun makes it $75. I 3-bet to $225. The action folds back over to him, and he ends up making the call. The under the gun player is the same player who I got all in against yesterday when he had pocket kings, and I had pocket kings, and the other guy had pocket aces, and he hit the king high flush. So he won a pretty big pot yesterday, and he's back for more today. He ends up making the call, so we're heads up in position with pocket queens, and the flop comes out 9-3-5 rainbow. One of the best boards, in my opinion. I don't think he's ever going to have pocket 3s or pocket 5s, and he shouldn't have any 2 pairs on this board either. The reason I say this is that yesterday and so far today, this guy has really not gotten out of line at all. So when he raises under the gun and then calls my 3-bet, I basically put him on hands like pocket 10s, jacks, queens, ace king, and ace queen. I don't expect him to have any kings or aces in his range either, so I'm pretty sure we have the best possible hand here. I bet $225 and he makes a call. Turn card is the 4 of clubs, so now it brings in a flush draw. He checks again, and I'm going to continue to bet here. The pot is around $900, and I do think on this turn card, I should be betting big, close to the size of the pot. If I was bluffing, I'd want to bet big to try to put pressure on his one pair of hands, but exploitatively against this player, I decided to go a little bit smaller. I make it $575, thinking if I bet $900 or $1,000 on this turn card, he may be able to fold hands like pocket tens and pocket jacks, and obviously that would be terrible, us holding pocket queens. I do think against this sizing he will have to defend at least one more time and see a river. He thinks about it for about 20 or 30 seconds and grabs one $500 purple chip and then grabs three $25 chips like he's going to call. He puts them out into the middle, and before they hit the felt, he says, all in. Well, I was not expecting that. I was expecting him to call or fold, not jam all in for another $2,500 back over to me. Now, yesterday, we were in the same exact scenario in a 3-bet pot with pocket queens, and my opponent jammed all in on the turn for around $4,500. I snap called, and he had a straight draw. Now, this is when player types really matter. Yesterday, I was playing against a recreational player who was down probably $15,000 and seemed like he was trying to get lucky. Now, against this particular guy, I don't think he's down any money on the day. If anything, he's probably up money on the day. And the way he's been playing the last 2 days makes me feel like he is just never bluffing in this situation. I also don't think he's ever doing this with a hand that I'm beating, like pocket tens or pocket jacks. If he did have pocket tens, pocket jacks, ace 9, he would just call. I don't think he would ever check jam all in. I start to think about what kind of bluffs could he have in his range. Well, he could have picked up a flush draw, maybe a hand like ace king of clubs. He can't have ace queen of clubs because I have the queen of clubs in my hand. So basically, I can only think of one bluffing hand, and given the fact that I don't think he's ever doing this with a single pair, I decide to let go of my pocket queens, and I ask him to show for the vlog, and he does. He shows pocket kings for a better pair than ours, and he ends up taking this one down. I've played thousands and thousands of hours of poker, and a lot of the time I just try to go with my gut, and my gut was telling me that my queens were no good. I actually thought he had a set like pocket nines or maybe pocket fives, or he slow played aces or kings pre-flop, but either way, I just felt like I was no good when he check jammed all in, and luckily this time we made the right decision. However, in the past, it hasn't been like that. If you guys have watched over my last 130 plus vlogs, I've made the wrong calls, I've made the wrong folds, so it does feel nice to make a tight fold and be right for once. However, even though we made a good fold, we still got coolered pre-flop. It's really hard to make money in poker when you're just constantly up against a slightly better hand. The day before, we had pocket kings versus pocket aces, which is a massive cooler and no limit hold'em. And then now today, pocket queens versus pocket kings, losing around $1,000, but it could have been worse. Moving into the last hand of the night, I'm in the under the gun $25 straddle, and I call a button raise to 75 with 8-10 suited. I flop bottom pair and a gut shot straight draw on a queen high board. I check and the button checks behind. Turn card 5 of diamonds, and now I decide to lead out for a big bet of $150. The button thinks for about 10 seconds and makes the call. The river card is a jack. It gives us a straight. I continue again for $150, really trying to target his two pairs, maybe his pocket jacks for a set, but he folds and we take down the last pot. Alright guys, that is it for this one. A two-part, two-day video for you guys. Friday night, one of the craziest, swingiest sessions I've really ever had in poker. I was in the game for $10,000. I was down $4,000, and just like that, in one hand, I got it all back and ended up profiting about 4K on the day. Saturday session, not as crazy. Biggest hand was when I folded pocket queens correctly against pocket kings. I ended up losing the minimum there. But that's it for the poker talk. I do want to talk about two things. One is that I get a ton of questions about why I decided to move back to Florida permanently. And I feel like out here is a perfect example of why I decided to move back. The weather is just so nice here. You just cannot beat South Florida weather. It is hot, it's humid, but every single day it's nice. I don't know, you can't really beat it. I grew up in Western Maryland. I graduated high school in 2011. Then I went to school at Virginia Tech for 2 years, which is in Blacksburg, Virginia. Then I transferred to West Virginia University, which is in Morgantown, West Virginia, and finished up there. So I basically spent around 23 years of my life in that little bubble of Maryland, West Virginia, Virginia. I never really experienced what it was like to live really anywhere else. And in 2016, after I graduated college, I was just kind of messing around, really not doing too much. And I came down to Miami, Florida for a vacation, just to kind of check out the scenery and stuff. And I realized that, holy shit, it's so nice down here. It was Miami, Florida in like December. And I remember when I was in West Virginia, the whole month of December, it basically was there was no sunshine. The entire month of December, it was just cloudy, rainy, cold, wet, and snowy. And then I came down here to Florida and I'm like, this is amazing. Like, it's sunny every day. It's 75 degrees every single day. Well, I'm gonna have to move here. So I moved here in 2016. I haven't really lived anywhere else since. So that's one of the main reasons. And another reason is because poker down here is just amazing. You really just cannot beat South Florida poker. Tons of action, tons of tables, 24 hours a day. It's pretty amazing. So one last thing I want to talk about is that throughout this month of September, I decided that I'm just going to post one poker video per week. Over the last year and 2 months, I posted 2 poker videos every single week of every single month for over a year and 2 months now. So I was feeling a little bit burnt out. It's a lot of work, all the traveling, playing poker, voiceover, editing, thumbnails, titles, doing intros, doing outros. It takes a lot of work to do all these videos. So I decided the month of September, I'm gonna relax a little bit, try to focus a little bit more on playing poker as well. I had a really rough June and July, losing like $20,000. So I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to plug some leaks. I'm trying not to make the same mistakes as I did in the past. And so far it's been going pretty well. In the month of August, I won around $5,000. And so far this month in September, I'm up about $7,000 in about 55 hours. But it is kind of ironic because I'm out here talking about the cold weather. And I've been out here now for about 30 minutes talking to the camera, trying to get this right. And I'm just sweating. I've had to stop multiple times to like wipe off my face. But I'd rather be hot than cold, that's for sure. But if you guys want to play online poker with me, download the Poker Bros app, go down, get the Telegram app as well, get some money on your account. Hopefully we can play together, but I got to get inside. I'm going to get into the air conditioning. I'm going to bring this little guy with me. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, I'll see ya.